The Seattle Kraken have already packed up the plane headed to Chicago. Here's hoping they pack some of the juice.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, Seattle hockey fans, welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. Unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about another shutout for your Seattle Kraken on today's episode. Not looking forward to this one, but here we go. The show must go on. And today's episode of Locked On Kraken is brought to you by Built Rewards. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNHL. Let's sigh. Deep, heavy, emotional sighs. We talked about on yesterday's episode that the Seattle Kraken needed to get their juice, their mojo, their sandpaper, all of the things back. We talked about how they needed an early start against Ottawa. We talked about how this was going to be an Ottawa team that was going to be physical. And if I knew the scouting report, I can't imagine that the roster didn't know the scouting report. And yet, the Seattle Kraken fall to the Ottawa Senators 3-0, 5-0 against Ottawa this season. The advanced analytics say this was a quality start for Joey Daccord. We did see Joey Daccord in net. That being said, I want to say two of those 3 goals, I would have liked to see Joey Dax do better with. I will also add that the chances that Joey Dax did give up were on blown assignments, mismanaging the puck. And so that's where I agree with the advanced analytics. Do I think Joey Daccord, especially that first goal you saw, he looked up immediately. That's like a telltale sign that a goalie wants that one back. And then the one that kind of flipped and bounced, that was just weird. But blown assignments, not handling the puck. So it's one thing to be shut out. Those things happen in professional sports. It's one thing to lose a game, but you're starting to hear, we heard from Jared McCann after the game. We heard from Brandon Montour after the game. Of course, Dan Bylsma, head coach of the Seattle Kraken. And there's just this feeling that some of the bad habits are reaping their ugly head once again. And that to me is why this is an unacceptable game. That to me is why this is an unacceptable game for the Seattle Kraken. If we look at the box score, the Seattle Kraken did outshoot Ottawa in the first period, 15-7. They were tied in shots on goal at 8 apiece in the third frame. In the second stanza, 12-7, though, in favor of Ottawa. Overall shots on goal, Seattle Kraken 30 to Ottawa's 27. So when we say juice, when we say jam, when we say moxie, what are we talking about? Because the Seattle Kraken are getting shots up. And it was interesting to hear Al and Everett talk pregame about what they need, the Seattle Kraken needed to do against the Ottawa Senators. And Al in particular was saying, you know, in some cases you want quality, in some cases you want quantity. And Al, I thought, had a really good breakdown because, or by saying that this is a Seattle Kraken team where, of course, you want quality, but quantity might be the first kind of a goalpost, so to speak, to hit. The first goal, the first objective of this team. And so you see the shots in the first frame and you like that based on what Al was saying. But again, the Seattle Kraken just not able to make things difficult. This is a Linus Ullmark who has won his last 5 now 6 games. Tall goaltender, an NHL goaltender. Yet you're not going to win many games by just hoping that you shoot harder than the goaltender can react. There are some players that can do that with consistency. We don't have a lot of those players. We need gritty goals. I said, how many weeks ago now? A couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, forget pretty. Forget pretty. We need to win. It doesn't have to be pretty. And so you look at that stretch pass from Joey Daccord, hits Ty Cartier. It's a rolling puck. Are those decisions where you want the Seattle Kraken to take that shot? How do you take a shot to then set up another shot, which is also a skill set? If you're Ty Cartier, do you wait for the Calgary? Do you wait for, more players? Do you wait for support? No, it's a breakaway. I'm not talking about that. You have to take your chances when you can. But thinking about on the power play, thinking about on 5-on-5, thinking about, is there a way that the Seattle Kraken team can utilize their strengths, their speed being one of them, I think their IQ, generally speaking. And I think the way that the Kraken need to do that is by leaning into their passing a little bit more. That's, in my estimation, what has made the right line successful. And sometimes you get complacent or comfortable because a few of those snipes are going in. That's not how you're going to win hockey games in the National Hockey League, by only sniping the puck. That's like, this isn't a video game. This is a job. This is playing with the big boys, as the song from Prince of Egypt goes. You're playing with the big boys. And Linus Ullmark is a big goaltender. Got to get more crafty, got to get more creative. And it's not about deking and all of that stuff necessarily, like over handling the puck. Sometimes it's just about timing. So I'm trying to practice that auditorially, I don't know, in an auditory way. Pauses. Sometimes you go really fast and then you slow down just a little bit. That's what I want to see from the Kraken. You need to set people up. So when Zame and I are on the podcast together, setting each other up to have a conversation, and these are things these guys know. They know. And that's where the frustration comes. Because if you know, then what is stopping the execution? And at some point, it becomes a mental game. What is it about the Seattle Kraken right now that is kind of manifesting? This might seem harsh, but I'm just going to say it because it's on my mind. What's manifesting fear in this team? Is it that they just had a head coach fired? Is it that they went to the playoffs in season 2 and then had a bomb year in season 3? But there seems to be a fear. I don't really know what else to call it. And if the players say otherwise, then I will take it back. But there's a hesitation, an overthinking happening with this Seattle Kraken roster right now. And you're running out of real estate to fix it. So I want you to hear a little bit from Brandon Montour as well as Dan Bylsma. That will be in our notes and quotes. I got into some of the stats and facts, but now we're going to go into the notes and quotes. What are we hearing from the Kraken after this game, and why does it kind of sound like a broken record? Today's episode of Locked on Kraken brought to you by our friends at Select Quote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. I've been to one of 3 of those. Got some work to do. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance that can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. And here's what you need to know about Select Quote. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and give you less coverage, while Select Quote offers you licensed insurance agents who work for you and tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. If you are in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam needed. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You could get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 per month. So get the right life insurance for you or less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/LOCKEDONNHL. And you can do that today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. As I mentioned at the top of the show, today's episode of Locked on Kraken also brought to you by our friends at Built Rewards. Now, this is why I like Built Rewards. I just signed up, so my next rent cycle, I will be getting rewards points, because if you're a renter like me, this is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, I and so many others can now earn points on rent payments, just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join, and I can vouch for that. You can earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. I just recently connected my Built reward account to Lyft, which is something that I use when I'm going back and forth to airports and things of that nature. You can redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are truly endless. So start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure you use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Thanks as always for making Locked on Kraken a part of your daily destination. It's been a while since I got to wear the UMA hat, and the Seattle Kraken are taking on Chicago and then Vegas. And here's hoping that get back in the win column. But we've seen Chicago make a fool of us in the past. Not a team on paper that we should have difficulty with, but yet and still we have fallen at the hands of a scrappy. Now, this is a scrappy Chicago team. They've got sandpaper, but you know what they also have? They have Ryan Donato. I'm just saying, are they related? Probably. We need sandpaper. And I'll tell you, Chicago has sandpaper. But we're going to preview tomorrow's game a little bit when we have Zame on the show. So he'll be joining us again this week. So not going to talk too much about that at the present moment, because I want to focus on the Seattle Kraken. There's still a lot that this team has to just take ownership of, and they know it. So here's Brandon Montour talking after yesterday's loss to Ottawa.
too easy for these goalies. Again, we had some looks, but again, shots don't matter if goalie sees them all the time. So obviously things we got to clean up.
And what happened after that first period? Did they start tightening things up because you didn't really have a whole lot of shots?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we just kind of, you get away with consistency. We've been preaching that. Spurts where we like our game, spurts that, we play slow. We let them dictate the game, but again, consistency is huge. And then obviously when you get behind the 8 ball and you let 2, you let 3 up, it's tough to kind of get by.
And you had a situation like this a few weeks back, and then you went on the road, and the team really regained focus. I mean, is that something you're looking to do here, or is that just?
I mean, yeah, I hope. I think it's one thing, these home games, these homestands, you got to take advantage of, and obviously, you like your game a few back there, beat some good teams, get some games like this, get away from us, and now we got a couple tough road games that we have to kind of fix things up and get back to, over 500.
Yeah, getting over 500. This is a team right now that's not there, not in the playoff picture. And like Brandon Montour said, consistency is huge. And that's something that this Seattle Kraken team has the capability, in theory, to control. Why they're not, who's to say? But it goes back to, is there a fear? Is there a mounting fear? And sometimes that can be debilitating. So I don't know. But the mental fortitude of this team has to really increase. I also like that Brandon Montour talked about getting bodies to the net. That goes to the conversation I said regarding volume or quality versus quantity. I think in the quantity, what I also, and I will be 100% honest. I don't know if this is a data point. I kind of hope that it is. How do you quantify? Can we look at a stat that tells us how many Seattle Kraken players are even around a net when a shot goes up? Because to Brandon Montour's point, we've talked about this before. The success that we see from the Shane Wright line is because they're able to recycle in their offensive zone, reset, retool, whatever you want to say. They're able to recover and get second chances, a second bite at the apple. They send numbers. I broke down on an episode why I loved, the double screen and the motion that was happening. A shot goes up and everyone is replacing each other. We need to see that throughout the lineup. And those types of plays, yes, there's sets. And when you're running them outside of a practice, the only way they're successful if there's 100% buy-in. And there's an underlying feeling on this team right now that there's not 100% buy-in and or focus, maybe both. And that's a problem. Is it Dan Bylsma's problem? Well, by way of him being the head coach, yes. But it's definitely a mentality and an attitude that has to be addressed. And Jared McCann talked about leadership after this game. I talked about it, had the, something's got to give episode. I'm back there. When is this team going to take ownership? But I want you to hear from Dan Bylsma as well after the game. Here's what he had to say.
In the second period and beyond. Well, not good enough, I'll say. I think you got to respect the opposition and you got to respect what they're bringing. But it's your job it's our job to dictate, the game and how it's played. And they're allowed to have some successes in the game, but you have to answer, with your play. And I think in the second period, just a little too much frustration and not getting results in the first, and then getting down by one. set in a little bit. I thought I thought the third period was better in that regard, but it's, got to kill a penalty, got to kill a 4-on-3, and now you're at a point in the game where it's 6-7 minutes left, and the push has got to come, and it's, I would say, too little, too late, but it just wasn't enough.
Dan, you guys got playing pretty well there through the Boston game. What do you look at these last two games overall? Do you think there's a step back you've taken collectively? How do you kind of process the last two and how you guys have kind of been here?
Yeah, I think you just got to take a look at the scenario, the setting, and where we're at in the season, and I think that desperation has got to creep into our game on a nightly basis, and when it's not, it's evident. And the Tampa Bay game, I don't think it was at the level. I don't think anyone thinks it was at the level that we need to be at to have success and play good night in, night out. And I think I think the way we stepped out in the first period was great. You gotta give respect to the opposition and what they're good at and what they do. But the way we played the first period, yep, we'd like more traffic on Allmark. We'd like to get more. There's probably a few more opportunities we could take to shoot the puck on them, but that's the mindset we need to play at every night to have success.
I mean, it sounds simple, and in some ways it is. In some ways it's more complex or nuanced. But what's true, regardless, is that there are things that the Seattle Kraken can control that, at least right now, it doesn't seem from the outside looking in that they are taking control of. And that ultimately is going to be a problem, because at the end of this season, if there is not a surge of determination, juice, jam, moxie, sandpaper, just pride, then everyone on this roster is going to be reflecting on the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And some of these players will not be on the Kraken roster next year. We kind of halted the conversation about what needs to change. That's on the table, squarely on the table again, and probably shouldn't have left the Eberle injury kind of, distracted from that. But it goes back to what I've been saying for a year and a half now. I got to see more from the front office, because it's not evidently clear to me, and maybe you feel differently, let me know in the comments. It's not evidently clear to me that this is a roster that was set up for success. There are holes, there are limitations, and that's what you give a new head coach, who I think is the right coach for this time in Seattle Kraken in the franchise history. But will that be how the record book remembers it? I don't know, but we're going to come back and do some stock up, stock down. I haven't done this in a while, mostly probably because I was in my own feelings about how mostly everyone's stock was down. But let's do some stock up, stock down coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. If you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action. Now you can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30 million plus in rewards during Pixmas and offering two free picks in December. And when your pick hits, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly over at Prize Picks as long as you make your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks as always for making Locked on Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked on Kraken, reminding you, check out our Saturday, our weekly show on women's hockey over on Locked on NHL. You're not going to want to miss it. I will be your co-host alongside Rachel Donner of Locked on Flyers. And, we are working on a few interviews that you're not going to want to miss from some titans of women's hockey, past, present, future. So you're not going to want to miss that as we continue rolling along with the women's hockey report on the Locked on NHL channel. Ooh, Seattle Kraken. Let's just go. We're in December. Let's go first. Stock up, stock down on this team making the playoffs. I'm kind of setting you up here. I'm setting myself up here, but I want to know, do you think this is a team that can make the playoffs? I'm stocked down right now. I think a lot of people are stocked down. If you can't find the desire, the determination, the juice in regular season games at home, I'm not going stock up on a team that can't figure that out in December. New players added to the roster, new coach, sure. Brandon Montour said, 30 some odd games in? It's not mega super hella early. It's not mega super hella late, but it's enough time. It's enough time, Seattle. So I'm going stock down. The playoff odds to make the playoffs for the Seattle Kraken are at Money Puck are 5.3%. 5.3%. I mean, Nashville has better odds to make the playoffs over at Puck Money, or Money Puck, than we do. Nashville right now is at 5.6. The Sabres 4.1. The Rangers looks like 6.8. Canucks at 3.1. 7.6 for the Islanders. But we're at 5.3. I'm taking stock down on the fact that this is a playoff roster. And it goes to what I was alluding to, what I've been alluding to and flat out saying. I try to understand, I try to be patient with this front office. And then all of my reservations, all of my concerns, we have these games, and sometimes there are multiple games in a row where just all of the glaring issues are roaring their ugly head. So yeah, I'm stocked down on this team making the playoffs. I'm going to give you two more scenarios. I'm very curious what y'all think here. And I apologize to our insiders because I didn't send this to you ahead of time. I'll send it after the show. Are you stock up, stock down on Dan Bylsma? I think at minimum, I'm neutral. I do find that my stock has gone up, not because my expectation, I don't know, I didn't know exactly what to expect. it sounds strange to not put what's happening with the Seattle Kraken on the coaching staff, but I really do think this is more on the players. To that end, though, the coaching staff, that's kind of their job more than the GMs, if we're being honest. And, I'm kind of, well, we'll get into the front office in a minute, but that's kind of your job. Even knowing that, I'm stuck up on Dan Bylsma and the coaching staff right now. Is it as high as it was maybe obviously a couple of weeks ago? No. I believe in the vision. I believe in Dan Bylsma being the right kind of coach to transition the Kraken from where we are to where we want to be, and quite honestly, where we probably should be. With that said, it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall, and I might try to see if I can catch up with Dan Bylsma at some point. But, what's his evaluation of the coaching staff right now? Where are he in the coaching staff trying to make some accommodations to see if they can figure out a different approach? Do they have to be more nurturing? Do they have to be more firm? Do they have to be more descriptive? Do they have to give more rest? I mean, these are all things that are up in the air. And even saying all of that, I'm still stuck up on Dan Bylsma. All right. Number 3, stock up, stock down on the front office. Stock down. Stock down. And it's difficult because I'm not sure I have concrete things to point out right now. I do think that this front office, more so the front office, the coaching staff, I think played into this as well. But I think that's what a coaching staff is supposed to do. But what am I trying to say here? I think the front office, and they've done this before, Ron Francis has done this before, leaned into the fact that making roster changes, Daniel Sprong, healthy scratches, Shane Wright, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Ty Cartier, Andre Burakovsky, that would be enough to strike fear into the hearts of this team. But it's not a team that's complete. It's like half-baked. I feel like this is a half-baked roster at best. And not enough sandpaper, not enough guys on a night in, night out basis willing to truly do whatever it takes. And a coaching staff can only do so many things. Healthy scratches, make line changes, things of that nature. Whereas a GM and a front office can say, thank you so much, next. But I think Ron Francis and company maybe leaned a little bit too much on this'll rile the guys up. I don't know that everyone on this roster is built that way. And again, that goes back to the coaching staff has to figure out motivation. I do think that's their front line. And then they have to relay that, and the front office and the coaching staff have to be in concert in what that's going to look like moving forward. And that's why I liked that Q&A that was posted, John Forsland talking with Ron Francis, because it does seem like some of that is happening. I can tell you for sure that Ron Francis was at the Jersey game. He was at the game at MSG, was around the team for that road trip. So what's being lost in translation? So now you let me know in the comments. Stock up, stock down. This Seattle Kraken roster is a playoff roster. Stock up, stock down on Dan Bylsma. Stock up, stock down on the front office, but specifically Ron Francis. I want to know. And again, I'll have Zane Begg on the show once again this week. So I'll be curious to hear what he has to say. Oh, tough one. But you know what? We are going to stay and be kind to ourselves. We're going to keep that positivity and push it outward for others when we have the capacity. And always, we hold fast, we stay true, and we say, let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everyone.